Oh, hello there. It's me with the ears. Hello, I'm Eliott Simpson, asexual comedian and filmmaker. Those of you who know me may be expecting some more comedic content, but today I'm actually going to give you something a bit more serious and heartfelt. I'm not sorry. But no, today I generally want to talk about asexuality, and specifically its relation to gender and gender roles. It's funny because they're bread rolls. It's funny! Still not sorry. Now, while I've been out as asexual for a good 5 years or so now, I've only recently come to terms with my gender identity as gender fluid. Now, I'm aware that I typically present myself in quite a masculine way, but generally on the whole gender spectrum, I'm generally pretty chill. Some days I feel more masculine, and other days, I feel a bit more feminine. I'll wear makeup and wear more kind of feminine clothing. And also in terms of pronouns, I'm pretty fine with anything. But I think asexuality is quite a special relationship to gender, and as someone like me who is quite masculine presenting and was assigned male at birth, it's presented its own specific challenges to coming out. Now, as we know, gender is a construct separate from your body and separate from your biological sex. Your genitals do not determine your gender, neither does the state, neither do your parents. The only one who can determine your own gender is you, because only you know how you feel. Sadly, however, most of us, well, all of us, weren't brought up with that knowledge. For many of us, we were brought up in an incredibly heteronormative society, one which drilled into us at birth the idea that our genders correlated with our biological sex, and all the nonsense stereotypes that went along with them. Got a penis? Well, then you must absolutely love the colour blue and play sport and never, ever, ever be open of your emotions. Got a vagina? Well, then it's dollies and dresses and mass hysteria for you, young lady. But of course, we all know this is rubbish, but unfortunately this was the way that most of us were harmfully brought up. And when it gets to puberty, it gets incredibly messy. In societal terms, sex plays a huge part in gender roles, and has done for centuries. Men are valued and measured by their sexual prowess, how often they procure it, and how they show dominance over others by being really good at the hanky-panky. We still see it today in the way that commercial products are marketed to us. Men, put on this aftershave and you will become a sex god! Look, we know you want the sex, just spray some diesel oil on you and then the sex you will have! The same applies to women, who even today are still horribly objectified and sexualized, and literally seen as nothing more than objects to be fawned over and obtained by men. In many ways, we have come very far. In other ways, but this is where the correlations begin with asexuality. For many of us, we struggled to come to terms with identifying as asexual because of surrounding social stigma. We're all familiar with being hit with the old, you're not normal, you're weird, you're broken, you're not natural, you're not right. Because sadly, adults in society are very often valued by their ability and their prowess at sex. What is a man if he doesn't go out purloining sex, and what is a woman if she doesn't go out receiving it? Turns out a lot of things, but general society is still kind of struggling to break out of their very sex-centric bubble. So for someone like me, who spent most of their teenage years identifying as cisgendered and male, growing up in a very heteronormative culture inevitably presented difficulties when faced with preconceived notions of manliness and manhood. For a vast majority of my academic life, pervasive ideas of male-to-female interaction being seen as competition not only forcibly pushed on standards of straightness, but also the expectations of sexual accomplishment. In both school and social events, sexual activity was constantly framed as a firm desire that all men should aspire to, and moreover be actively encouraged to use any means necessary to obtain. See, when I was growing up, I was taught by my parents, by my peers, by the media that, men should grow up to be tough and build sheds out of beer and drink beer out of sheds. So, in an environment where socially constructed attitudes towards men described them as aggressive and strong and unemotional, without any knowledge of any alternative communities, I was left to feel alienated and broken because I wasn't as openly engaged with the pursuit for sex as my peers seemingly were. But then again, even after learning about some of the non-straight orientations like homosexuality and bisexuality, the constant underpinning theme of sexual attraction pretty much cemented the notion that I was going to be unwelcome in any conceivable community. And even after finally becoming aware of the asexual spectrum through independent research, those same social pressures were still so strong, still so pressurizing. The pressure to be expected to have an interest in sex, they still prevented me from fully accepting my identity for a good number of years. Even amongst the more mature and forward-thinking adult communities which I engaged with, consideration of a non-interest in sex was very rarely evident, especially in male-dominated groups where actually that interest was actively encouraged. So although some people may consider me to present quite masculine. I don't really embody many tropes of masculinity. I don't care for sports or the cars or colour blue's fine. I guess. The beer. Beer's alright. Not like kind of smash over the head. Strong. Emotions bad. No, I like emotions. Emotions good. What I'm saying is that although my rejection of stereotypically masculine activities did aid in the revelation of my asexual identity, our society's obsession with withholding standards of heteronormativity may very well be preventing other men or other non-cis people from feeling safe to do the same. I think the hope is that as a society, one day we can transcend above the expectations of both gender and sex, and hopefully together create a more welcoming and safe environment for all identities. And that's why the last 5 years have really been quite a sort of slow burn for me for kind of realising I was more gender fluid. When I take a long, hard look at myself, I just don't really strongly identify or feel a connection to any elements of the masculine gender, either sexually or socially. Well, I like shirts, suits and waistcoats and bow ties. Beard. I got a beard, but are any of those things inherently masculine? They're just clothes and a lack of basic hygiene. The point is, asexuality proves that not everyone fits into society's preconceived sexual norms, and more of how closely tied sexual stereotypes can be to gender stereotypes. Perhaps to some of us, asexuality proves a bit more to us than just our sexual orientation. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, and I come back to the next one at some point in time. Yes, thank you, bye!